Good afternoon.
How are you?
You're doing well. Okay, so just before we begin, we're Kitzur Shulchan Aruch, the abridged code of Jewish law, chapter 2. We're up to number 3. But just before we begin, just to mention a halacha that's unusual for this particular Shabbos the rest of the year. So for those who are more familiar with the Siddur, will know that on Shabbos morning, before Musaf, before we return the Torah, before Musaf, we say Av HaRachamim. It's a prayer that is for martyrs, Jewish martyrs over the years, and became popularized, if that's the right word, became more common to be said after the tragedy of the Crusades. Right, so though in the Western world, the Crusaders are looked on as being the most wonderful heroes, but the Crusaders who had a bloodlust and decided they're going to go kill the infidels in the Holy Land, said, why wait till we get there? There's plenty of infidels here. And particularly the Second Crusade was the most severe. It was almost the end of Ashkenazic Jewry. It was terrible, terrible times. Terrible, terrible times. And
today a lot of Jewish Russians call themselves Alex.
Yeah, okay, but that's not because of Crusaders.
It was after Alexander
the Great, but he wasn't a Crusader. He's well.
I thought he was.
No. He's already from second base of Mikdash, Alexander the Great.
Oh.
I'm not sure he was so great. In general, in non-Jewish history, what makes someone great is the more people you kill, the bigger hero you are. Look in Jewish history, who's our heroes? Rashi, the Rambam. It's different reasons that make them heroes. We have a different value system, but we'll leave that aside. So, Shabbos Varchim, the Shabbos before a new Jewish month, and we bless the new Jewish month. We skip, generally speaking, we skip Av HaRachamim, because since it's a little bit joyous, so we don't want to mention the prayer for the martyrs. It's, and if it was another joyous day, let's say there was a bris in the shul on that Shabbos, or some other reason made a joyous day, we would also skip Av HaRachamim, because although it's important to say a prayer for the martyrs, but, you can understand it's a little bit depressing, and it mars a happy occasion. And so there are times when we skip. So Shabbos Varchim, the month, the last Shabbos of the month, where we bless the upcoming month, we skip Av HaRachamim, except this one. When we bless the month of Sivan, we say anyway, because most of these tragedies happened this time of the year.
Rabbi, you're saying the word martyrs?
Yes.
M-A-R? Okay.
Yeah, people who were killed al Kiddush Hashem.
Your accent is a little
wait, I'm the only one here without an accent. I don't know what you mean.
Rabbi, I'm really confused. Now, can you say what you just said again? Why you say a certain prayer at the beginning or the end of this month?
So we there's a prayer that we say in the middle of the Shabbos service, or almost at the end, but a quarter before the end, for all the Jews who died for being Jews, who gave their life to stay Jews, and for their souls. However, we skip it when it's a happy day or a special day, because we don't want to mix the sadness with the happiness. And one of the times we skip it is the Shabbos when we bless the upcoming Jewish month. The exception is this one, the Shabbos Varchim Sivan, because most of these tragedies happen in Sivan. So this Shabbos, even though we normally don't say it when we bless the month, we are going to say it. Obviously to understand to be the transport large amounts of people by foot and horse and taking your supplies by horse couldn't happen in the European winters. And it also couldn't happen in spring because with all the melting snow was terrible mud. So this is early summer is when they started gathering the troops, and this is when the atrocities happened. So just as it's not the usual, just pointed out.
Rabbi,
Yes.
How many Jews were
What
killed?
atrocities are you referring to? I always thought that the tragedies mostly took place in the month of Av. Or is
Okay,
this
good
at the
question. So
beginning?
that was the larger here. Someone's shared with us the Avarachimim. So this is the prayer we're speaking about. Okay, and so this is the Ashkenaz custom. They also say it on Shams Avarachim Av, which is what most people don't know got you as well. But anyway, so we have. Thank you for sharing that. So we had two people ask a question at once, just to very quickly just to try and sort of answer all the questions.
It was David and
So,
Penina.
yeah.
Let Penina go
Yeah.
first.
So we're talking about the tragedies of Av. Most of the big tragedies, like the destruction of the Beis Mikdash, happened in Av, and of course that's a time where we deal with that. But this particular, the Crusades, most of the things happen around this time of year. And as this Avarachimim, I believe was written before the Crusades, but it wasn't commonly said. It became commonly said after the destruction of the Crusades, by the Crusaders, the destruction of the Jews in. Don't forget, there really weren't that many Jews in Eastern Europe then. It was really Ashkenazi Jewry was, today it's Germany and France and different things. The borders weren't the same, and the smaller kingdoms didn't really have these. But this is where the tragedy happened. So this tragedy happened that time of year. In regards to numbers, I'm not sure anyone really knows the numbers. And I'm not sure that anyone really knows how large Ashkenaz Jewry was, but it almost finished it. So it was extremely large percentage of what Ashkenaz Jewry existed. And also, even the ones who weren't destroyed, so many were displaced. This is one of the reasons that one of the factors of the Jews going, moving to Poland and different things afterwards. From Poland went to the rest of Eastern Europe, or the Kingdom of Poland, which then, and at its peak, the Kingdom of Poland, was all Lithuania, Ukraine, or large parts of Ukraine, Poland, other areas as well. Okay. So that's
Rabbi?
yes.
Rabbi? Did the Crusaders come to Jerusalem at this time of year? Because
I don't think they made it yet by this time of year. I mean, once they were there for several years. So there were many years. So there were definitely years they were. But
there
when
was
they actually gathered.
I know because I read about the ankles in the streets of Jerusalem.
Right. So in the years where they actually committed the atrocities at this time of year in Europe, they probably didn't make it to Israel till several months later. But once they were in Israel, they had conquered. There was, certain areas they had for, a few hundred years. Certain areas on the short term conquer, certain areas didn't conquer at all. But that particular year they wouldn't have been in Israel this time of year, at least not in numbers. All right, the Kitzur Shchanach Gimel number 3. So it's going to be about washing our hands in the morning. So Netilas Yadayim Shachris Ibederach Zeh. So the procedure washing our hands in the morning is as follows. Notilas Kli B'Yad Yaminoi. We pick up the cup in our right hand. I'll just point out if there's anyone who's left-handed. When it comes to our sides of our body, as opposed to direction, right and left doesn't actually mean right and left. It means your stronger and weaker hand, or stronger, weaker side. Right, so we're talking about picking up in your yaminoi, which will loosely translate as your right hand. It means your stronger hand. So if you're a left-handed person, you just reverse this this procedure. So you pick it up in your right hand, and then you transfer it. But notice in the smaller, you transfer it to your left hand, right? So if it's going to be your left hand anyway, why do you pick it up? Because we try and pick everything up with our right hand. Again, that's your left hand, right? So one thing we're going to see a pattern through the next few chapters is that since the Torah gives precedence to the right side in many different places, so we give priority and precedence to our right side unless it involves tying. When it comes tying, so for example, tefillin, the precedence is given to the prominence is given to the left. So anything that's like tying, let's say our shoelaces, for example, or anything else that's tying, the left always goes first. But almost everything else, other than tying or untying, we give priority to the right. So we're going to pick up the cup with our right hand, but since we're also going to pawn our right hand first, so therefore we have to transfer to the left hand. So step 1, pick up in the right hand. Step 2, transfer to the left hand. And then we pour once over the right hand. Now, over means all the way from the wrist, all the way to the fingertip in one pouring. So in one flow of water. So we need the entire hand to get covered by this water. Then you transfer now the cup to the right hand, and then you pour the water over your left hand, again, all the way from the wrist to the fingertip and the entire hand. And we do this 3 times. So you end up alternating, pouring water over the right, left, right, left, right, left. Now, I'll just point out over here that there are many people who pour a 4th time. Now, in order to do the washing, to remove the tumah requires 3 times. But then you have to dry your hands well, because you have water that washed away the tumah. So we'll say it has some, I don't know, tumah pollution, not the right word, how to put it. And
my cousin said to wash the water off that you use to wash the tumah off. That's okay.
Yeah, so you need to dry your hands really well. But if you don't have a towel available, or you don't normally dry your hands very well, or just out of convenience, you can wash a 4th time, and that then washes away all that water. And you don't have to be so careful about washing your hands. A lot of people do this. First of all, some people have that custom from general, but a lot of people do this, because they like to, after they wash, they like to wipe their eyes. Sometimes have, some bits in their eyes, from their sleep, different things. And so they want to do that while it's still wet. So the wash a 4th time is so you don't need to, just making you aware.
Rabbi?
Yes.
I'd like to ask you a question. I am a Kohen.
Yes.
And when I go do the Kohenian prayers, and of course I go and get my hands washed, they don't alternate. They just do one hand 3 times and do 3 times on the other hand.
Yeah, that's a different washing.
Okay.
So we see washing for bed also, it's 3 times and 3 times, or some people do that, only wash twice, but whatever it is. So but this morning washing is specifically alternate. Yep.
Okay. Thank you, Rabbi.
It's okay. And V'toiv litlan al perek hazroya. And it's best, as I said, to wash all the way to the wrist. But you're stuck. So today, Baruch Hashem, we have running water in every home, and it's we have plenty of water available. But someone got stuck. We're on a camping trip, there wasn't enough water. Then it's good enough to wash to the knuckles. And then when they find more water, they'll wash properly afterwards. But as a minimum, wash the knuckles. Okay, that's what we do. Now, after we wash their hands, each morning, at minimum, some people shower every day, some people maybe not every day, It's always that always have that one student in class who showers once every 6 months, whether he needs it or not. But was in schools. But there's whatever it is, and some people shower at night. They don't necessarily shower in the morning. But besides our general washing that we need to do for our cleanliness, and that we should feel comfortable and whatever. But each morning, as well as washing our hands, we have to wash our face in honor of our Creator, because we're going to be davening, we're going to be going to say prayers, we're going to be doing various things, and so we should wash our face at least each morning. Shneimah says, Hashem created man. They normally translate as the image of God. I'll just point out the word sail actually means like a shadow, technically. It's as a shadow. When you move your hand, your shadow moves its hand, right? If your shadow is doing something different to you, run. No, that's from the shouldn't have. But so we're, so to speak, the shadow of Hashem. In other words, we try to mirror image God's attributes, and also our soul is made up of spiritual levels, in a similar way to spiritual levels are made up. Again, it's not exactly the same. Yeah, I'm sorry, Susan, what was the question? I didn't quite get it.
If there,
In the chat, you send a question?
if there isn't enough water, can you use
sand.
sand?
Okay, we're going to speak about when there's no water. We're going to get there. Good question.
Sorry.
No, that's okay. It's good. It shows that you're thinking the next step. It's a good sign. Good sign. Ben.
Yeah, I wanted to ask if first you take it in the right, give it in the left, and then wash the right hand 3 times. Am I correct?
No, once on the right.
Only once?
Yeah, so we're going to alternate in the morning. We're not talking about washing for bread. We're talking about washing for the
and
morning.
Then you transfer to the right and give one.
And pour once over the left,
and you do
then
it 3
transfer
times.
back to the left,
Okay.
back over the right. Yeah.
But I wanted to say, if you do that, you grab the handle the first time, you're not washed yet. Then you keep grabbing the handle to transfer it from hand to hand. What happened with the
So the
tumor?
first time it's not usually wet, so it's not so much an issue. And that's another factor why some people wash the 4th time. But that's not really so much the issue. It doesn't transfer to the cup.
Okay.
Particularly when we use plastic cups for this. Metal cups is a different story, but generally we use the plastic for this. So we wash our hands for spiritual reasons. We wash our face out of honor to Hashem. The gam yichotz piv, we also have to wash our mouth, right? Brush our teeth, your mouth, whatever it is. Because of the, the saliva, the spittle that's in a person's mouth. So when you sleep, you wake up, you have a bit of a bad taste, bad smell in your mouth. And we have to say Hashem's name in holiness and purity. We have to, the appropriate way. It would be inappropriate to say Hashem's name without washing our mouth out.
Rabbi.
Yes.
And Yisrael had a question.
I'm sorry, Yisrael. Yes. My apologies.
Thank you. No problem. My question is this: back to the scenario where somebody washes their hands just 3 times, not the 4th time. Okay,
Yeah.
and then they wipe using a cloth towel. Okay.
Yeah.
Is the tumor stay on the towel?
Not really. The 3rd time, I mean, it's the 3rd time. It's not so serious. I mean, generally, when you wash the water off, and the water that runs off, we don't use that water again. But if you had a bit of a slightly damp towel, it's not the end of the world.
Okay, I just wanted to clarify that.
Yeah, no,
This is symbolic of cleansing.
Don't make
also,
coffee
right,
with
Rabbi?
it.
well, it's a physical action that creates a spiritual effect.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, yeah, David, yeah.
I forget where I read this, but in Kabbalah it explains that there's this spirit of tuma, of using the word impurity, and it's actually jumping from hand to hand. And that's one of the reasons you're washing your hands alternating.
Well, it's already in both hands. That's the this is the issue. It's yeah, I mean I haven't come across that about the jumping.
I
Could
forget
be.
where I saw it. Yeah, but it brought down that it's jumping from hand to hand, and that's why you're washing alternating. That's one of the reasons.
Yeah. Thank you. Okay, so that number 4. Sarch little oh, so we got one more sentence. So achakach miganov yadav, you have to dry your hands, vizad leganov panov yofe, and you should be very careful to dry your face well as well. Dalit, number 4.
Why did he say that? Careful to dry your face. We're not doing tumah with race. It was. I found it fascinating. Like it's your mother. Make sure you dry your face before you go out.
I'm just presuming you go out in the European winter with a wet face. You're going to regret it. That was my presumption. But maybe there's something deeper. I don't know. I met this when I was a yeshiva student. I went to the shuls. It was an elderly gentleman who used to attend, and he used to speak to me in Yiddish. And at the time, my Yiddish is still not so amazing, but it's better than it was then. And I often thought I misunderstood him, but then I worked out after a few times me telling me, often what I thought he said is what he really said. So he was telling me that when he was a small boy, his father would take him to shul, so they would hitch up the sled, and then they each drank a cup of methylated spirits to keep warm, and got on the sled to go to shul. So anyway.
Rabbi, when I came
alcohol? You mean alcohol?
Yeah, so cleaning alcohol, so
oh my God,
that was what they could afford.
Oh, wow. What they clean the sled with?
I don't know if that's what I don't think they wasted it on the sled, but but that was what they used to have to keep warm. So I can imagine if you went out in that weather with a wet face.
Kerosene. You're not talking about kerosene.
No, methylated spirits.
It's still bad.
Rabbi,
yeah, it is. Yeah, Moshe.
There's methanol, there's ethanol, there's propanol. All these alcohols, unless it's methanol, which you're saying it's a derivative, it's still that's still a very dangerous substance to consume.
Yeah, look, I have no doubt. And I think in Eastern Europe, even other alcohol, the quantities that they used to consume in those days probably was unhealthy to start with. But anyway, number 4.
Rabbi, when I first became from in Crown Heights, so the thing was you would go to the mikveh and try to get back to the shul, to the yeshiva before your beard froze up, before the ice in your beard froze up.
In the winter, huh?
Yeah.
Yep. We don't have that problem in Phoenix. So it's already 96 today. We're in 96, but anyway. Sach yitel yadav dafka l'seichli. You need to wash your hands specifically from a vessel. It needs to be with human power. Now, the asalahani, just mentioned today, let's say sometimes you're in an airport or somewhere, and there's not a, you don't have, often you can borrow a cup. You can take a cup from one of the stores, a plastic cup, you can get cups. But if you're in a place where you don't have a vessel, it still needs to be human power. So even if you're going to turn on the tap, you need to turn it on and then turn it off. So each of the 6 pourings is another on and off. So in other words, the water coming in your hand now, you made it come on your hand this moment. Then you turn it off. And then for the other hand, otherwise, if you just have the one stream, that's not the equivalent of 6 pourings, like the equivalent of 1 pouring. All right, so that's it's actually by making it move with human power that creates the effect. And again, this is the concept of life. It's a human energy. That's the spirit of life driving out the energy of the death system. And sometimes the airport, they have the ones that turn off automatically. You turn it on and it goes off. You don't turn it off, it just stops. So you actually have to wait till do that. Okay, but now we can't have any benefit from the water that we washed. Because this negative energy is in the water. So you're not going to use it even to mop your floor, never mind make your soup. And therefore you should pour it out in the place where people don't go. So don't pour it out in the pond, don't pour it in thing. So generally people pour it down the drain. Today, in our homes we have plumbing, Baruch Hashem. So you pour it down the drain. Hey, number 5. Now, before you wash, we're going to speak about now. Lo yiga kointila, before you wash, you shouldn't touch any openings in the body. Lo b'peh, not your mouth, lo b'chaitam, your nostrils, lo b'naim, your eyes, lo b'znaim, your ears, lo tapas, or your urea, lo b'chalim, nor to touch any food, lo b'makom mekaza, any place where you have a wound. Because since this negative energy, negative spiritual energy is on your hands before the washing, if someone touches these areas, it can do damage. Now, whether that's a physical damage or only spiritual damage or both or whatever, could depend on the circumstances. But it's a person should avoid touching any openings in their bodies before they wash. Now, even though I said we're going to get to it, but it looks like we're not going to get to it today, but someone asked the question, I will leave them in suspense for a whole week. But when we're talking about if you don't have any water, so you wipe your hands on a hard surface, preferably a hard, rough surface. So like a wall or wooden, wooden something. And that's what you do until you find water. Also, if you have a body of water, you can dunk your hands in the body of water 6 times.
Is it preferably wood? I know they always say rub against wood, but you're focusing on something else, the roughness.
Yeah, so I have in front of me, I'm sitting now, it's a plastic table, plastic desk. It's with a rough top. And I have also a wooden stender, which is quite smooth. And it's been, I'd probably better.
They're all knockoffs. That's the problem. They're all phony wood.
Yeah, probably better to use the plastic table. Just it doesn't mention plastic because
you don't want to get
he never saw plastic. Rabbi Gansrid, who wrote the Yitzchok, because it's I think actually when Mashiach comes, man-made artificial fibers and things don't become tomei. So I think, Mashiach comes and we're going to have all these laws of Tum and Tara again to go on by Mikdash. I think you're going to be wearing a lot more polyester, be using a lot more plastics, and avoid, a lot of these issues. All right. So wish everyone this is more questions. Wish everyone a wonderful week.
Thank you,
though it's early, a wonderful Shabbos.
Thank you for your card. Thank you very, very much.
Thank you, Rabbi.
Thank you, Rabbi.
Stay
Have a
safe,
great day,
everybody.
everybody.
Take care.